What did you make of the Biden-Putin summit? Would you consider it a win for either side?
I think for President Biden, it was very successful at just setting a very clear measure for Putin of what the president would expect and what he would tolerate. Whether that actually comes to pass, we shall see. But remember, our expectations were very low. There was a lot of controversy surrounding even the fact that Biden had agreed to meet with Putin. And he said quite clearly, there's no substitute for direct talks. I'm going to talk to you about human rights. I'm always going to talk about human rights. Alexei Navalny, of course, is top of that agenda, and cyber. And I think the win here is just signaling very clearly that the implicit threat was that the U.S. will respond. And that there will be this working group to really work together to identify what are those 16 targets that the U.S. president considers to be completely off limits for Russia when it comes to those cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. And this is absolutely critical, of course, because this is where those cyber attacks can really hurt Americans on the homeland and really unstable daily life in the United States.
I guess following up that point, number one, why should we believe that Russia will be deterred based on what Biden has now outlined? And number two, what would retaliation from the U.S. actually look like from a cyber perspective?
Well, I think to your first point, we have no reason to believe that that Russian President Putin will be deterred. We have every reason to believe that his dominant mode of interaction right now is to disrupt and to draw attention and to unsettle and destabilize the situation. So I think this is, what Biden is very clearly aware of. But when you're faced with a set of alternatives, clearly making your intentions clear and even delineating what those sites are, I think is absolutely critical. So I suspect what we'll see in the U.S. intelligence agencies and those working on cyber attacks is a very clear strategy for what a response will look like in the event of an attack on any of those sites. That is core right now, and that's the nature of warfare as we see it going forward. The other thing I think really to watch about the summit, of course, is that what Biden would like to do is to manage and contain Russia's ability to disrupt and unsettle and destabilize the situation in Europe and in the United States, so that he can focus, of course, on the thing that America cares most about, which is its engagement and its interactions with China, not only in Asia, but also across Europe. And Russia, of course, is a hindrance to that broader strategic objective.
Well, on that point, would you expect China to have been watching this summit? And what do you think the takeaway there is? How does China sort of factor in here?
I think China was watching that summit. I think we know that China was watching the NATO meetings, the meetings with the European Union, the G7, and taking note that China was very much an object of discussion, a subject of discussion, not terribly happy about that. I think that one of the questions, of course, for China is, how much to engage and in what way with Russia. That's something that's clearly very threatening to the United States. And I think a real concern or a real question is, what will the U.S. response be? How much is the U.S. seeking to draw Russia in order to manage that potential closeness and proximity between Russia and China? So there's a very careful and clear set of calculations, and everybody is watching this relationship very carefully. But it's in the best interests of all parties to keep the situation across any number of sectors stable and predictable. But that's actually a much higher goal than we might at first assume.